Hi guys and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where in this video we're going to disassemble this APS BOAR. So I just want to make a note on safety. Whether I'm disassembling, unboxing, chronoing, whatever it is I'm doing, I always make sure I'm in a completely safe environment. So that means most of my videos I'm always wearing eye protection just to make sure that my eyesight stays safe. Before I do that, I always make sure that there's no ammunition in any of the mags or in the gun itself. I make sure that the mags are unloaded and unwound to make sure that nothing can happen with that. Obviously if I'm chronoing, then I've absolutely definitely got my eye protection on to protect myself. I even make sure that my batteries are removed and out of the way so that I know I'm in a safe environment. I also make sure that there's nobody else around as well either, so I'm always in a safest possible environment. If you are working with airsoft stuff, please make sure you do the same. Hi guys and welcome back. If you do enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe because you're going to really be helping me out. So hopefully you've seen the recent unboxing of this that we got from Taiwan Gun from my good friend Matt, and today we're going to do a disassembly and have a look at how we actually take this apart and work on it. Now this is the first time I've ever even had an APS, let alone worked on one, so this is going to be a little bit different for me. So we'll start with the side mounted or angle mounted sights on it, and they just use little grub screws in there just to loosen off. So you're just going to need a little Allen key or a little hex key, perfect, and just loosen those off. We'll just do the one, so loosen one off. You might need the actual Allen keys because that's not quite long enough to get in there, but once they're both loosened off, that should just lift up and off and out of the way. Yeah, leave that on. We'll leave it on there because I haven't got one long enough and I don't know where my Allen keys have gone. So that's that part. In terms of getting the handguard off itself, then you've got two the handguard. You've got two bolts in here. So we're just going to find the correct size. Nope. So we'll undo these, get them out of the way. And that should just slide straight on out like that, and that's remove the handguard and that's held in place. Now in the actual box itself, it does tell you about this system, about where it needs to line up with, that you know, you need to find the appropriate screw holes, which obviously they've got a variety of screw holes to match up depending on the thread and things like that. So this then, and it's just hand tight. I can loosen that off, and it does tell you to hand loosen it off or hand tighten it, and that will just come off and that releases. There we go, the outer barrel, meaning you can replace it with something short if you wish, or longer if you want to. So we'll hand tighten that back down and we can finish sorting that later. It does tell you that you need to get one of these matched up at the top or near enough, because that's what it screws into at the bottom, is these holes down at the bottom. We'll sort that out. Flash hider, again, it looks like there is a grub screw in there, so we'll see if we've got the right size. There is, let's get that out there. So it's just loosen this grub screw off. Don't bring it all the way out because it obviously will cause issues, and it's just an anti-clockwise thread, negative thread. There's your inner barrel, which we'll remove in a minute, with some little O-rings on it to stabilise it, and the actual cap there is under like a spring system just to help keep it stable and secure. So I'll screw that back down and we should see the barrel coming back out the end there. There it is. Obviously you might want to get that lined up again to keep that at the bottom, so get that neatly at the bottom and then tighten it back down so we know it's in the right place. Fantastic. Now we'll split the upper. Now it's just a push out pin. It might be a little bit stiff, so you might need to tap it through and it just does remove, and I'm going to pull, and there goes the assembly. Now the ejection port is actually attached to the gearbox, which is a little bit different, but I was aware of that. There is the charging handle, which is covered in grease, but it's a little bit different to a standard AEG style one. Obviously from the unboxing you'll remember that the clip that goes on there is broken, which is a bit of a shame, but it does look like it's a unique style one, but it is covered in a lot of grease, but we can sort that out later, get that out of the way. We've then got our traditional barrel and hop unit. Now that is a absolutely bog standard style M4 hop unit, and that, if you can see down there properly, there we go, that's with the hop fully on, so it may need a bit better tensioner nub to go in there just to tension it down a little bit better, but I would have thought that should be more than enough to hop at least a 0.2, possibly even a 0.25 in there. So that's your barrel and hop assembly. That is a 6.03 barrel, and that will just slide back in there again. Job's a good one. If you did ever want to replace the ejection port cover off here, usually there is a C-clip, which there is at this end. If you pop that C-clip off, and it is a pain to do, this bar then will slide out forward. Obviously you usually have to take the handguard off. The spring there has got a little hook that goes onto the body there, and the long straight that goes on there, and it should push tension to keep it open. So when you pull your charging handle, that should pop open, ready. And as you can see there, I am sliding that out of the way. So that's how you do it. Next thing we'll do is we'll get the stock off. So to remove any normal stock, you usually have to extend the stock fully, make sure that you've removed your battery. Let's just get the wiring sorted. It's probably a good idea to get your wiring out of the way so it's not catching and pulling, because you don't want to damage your wiring. So we'll extend the stock out. Once it's at the back, it's usually some sort of pull down system like that. On some stocks, I'll just click that back in, you may have to pull down like that and pull from this side to get it to come off, and that releases the stock out of the way. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the screw that's down there. That will release it off the back of the gearbox and should give us access to the quick change spring system. So put a crosshead bit, so we've got a little Phillips head down here. Largely it is just like a traditional M4. So let's have a look. There goes the screw with a washer on it, and that should now release. There's the plate that it screws into. Feels like really light aluminium, and that just gives free movement then to allow the wiring to come out. Now that's quite nice. The wiring has got is connected there, so this can be removed, and I'm quite liking this braiding for protecting the wire. That's quite nice. That there's our metal sling plate out of the way. I can get into the back of the gearbox now. I still can't get into the quick change spring system, so it doesn't mean I'm going to have to get further in. It's not a problem. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the pistol grip. So we've got two Phillips head screws in the bottom here. Now, I do like that APS have got rid of the little tiny plate on there and put a big adjustment screw on the end there. Happy with that. And we've got the red terminal is at the back, the black terminal is at the front, and it looks like both wires come up the back of the pistol grip. So we'll disconnect the black, and I'll gently lift the red out of the way. There's the red wire. The red is quite a long wire, and lift that up and out. So there is your standard Evolution Edge motor that's in there, high performance motor. I assume it's high, I was going to say high torque, but I'm not sure. Now let's have a look where these wires come. Now, just for confirmation's sake, the black wire does come up the front of the pistol grip, and the red wire comes up the back of the pistol grip. And in this one, unusually, we have 3 screws screwed down into the pistol grip instead of 2. So we've got them at 3 different positions if I can get my screwdriver in there. So just got 3 little Phillips head screws. I do like this pistol grip. I'm impressed with what APS have done with this. It's really nice and comfortable to hold, and the stippling just helps make it a little bit extra grippy. Keeps your traction on there. There we go. Make sure when you're doing this you keep all of the screws together so you know where each individual things come from, because there's nothing worse than doing some tech work and then realising you forgot where something's come from. So that's loose, so I'm just going to gently lift that out. The red wire I'm going to put back straight because otherwise it won't come out to the pistol grip. And that's one. There we go, pistol grip's out of the way. So we're getting closer and closer now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the fire selector from here. So that's just a tiny little Allen key bolt. That's the right one. These are very good if you do run an M4 or AR variant. These ambidextrous mag catchers are great. I'm a right-handed, but you know, particularly in mid-firefight sometimes, it's quite convenient to just press it with the other hand, drop the mag out and chuck another mag in there. So next thing I'm going to do like the bit of bling on there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this back pin out, this pin out here, and then we should be able to get the gearbox out of the body and have a look at what's going off in there. As we do this, actually I've just realised an issue. This pin needs taking out because that won't come out on its own and potentially is going to stop the gearbox lifting out. So that took me a while to get out, but I got there in the end. So what I had to do is I had to use quite a small tool to just start knocking the pin out, and then I got to a point where I was struggling to get this further down. So in the end I had to get some needle nose pliers to just grip the end and pull it out the rest of the way to get it out of the way. But that's done its job now, and we're freed up to get ourselves into the rest of the gearbox. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this pin out. I'm just trying to see, I think the teeth are this side. When you are doing this, please be aware that the teeth may be in different places on different gearboxes, and it could be down to who and when they've built it could determine where the pin is and where the teeth are. There's the teeth. And there we go. So on this one, it was on the right hand, the teeth were on the right hand side, but that could be different. So just try and look for the showing of the teeth, and it should give you a good indication of which way to put them out. If you tap the pin out though, and there's no teeth, then it's the other side of the pin. So now we've done that, we should now be able to, and we can, gently just lift this out, and there we go. There is our gearbox. So we've got not quite a standard, that even looks like it's a magnetised selector. Obviously it is based off a version 2 gearbox, but obviously we've got this unique control system in here, this microchip system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the camera down and we'll open this up and have a look at what's going off inside of here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to remove this cover. So I'm just going to clear a little bit of space. Now this screw should not be mega tight, it just needs to act as a blocker to stop this coming in and out. And there is a spring, I'll flip it over, there is a spring that you can see there is hooked inside the gearbox and hooks around this little clip here. So little hole goes onto the clip there, line it up, come on Pheas, there we go, and then that sits on there and it sits in the tracks there. Make sure it goes back in its little tracks there, and that's perfect. So we can lift that up and out of the way for now, put that out of the way, and then we can get into the rest of this gearbox slowly but surely. This is a bit different. Now obviously with things like this, because it's so different, please make sure that you are very careful with where the screws have come from and keep them in the right order, because the worst thing you want to do is break something by putting screws back in the wrong place. Put that out of the way. that. We can actually access, just realised as well, we can access the quick change spring system here. So it is push in, and I'm guessing it's a quarter twist. There it is, and out comes our spring guide. So it's bearing based at the bottom. There comes our spring as well, which is the downgrade spring that's been put in for us. Put that out of the way. Obviously these are doing about 400 FPS out of the box. So there's quite a few screws in here and some unusually placed screws as well. So we'll work our way through it as best we can. I am led to believe that the microswitch is the MOSFET is microswitch based and can be replaced, I believe. Right, we're now at a point where let's get rid of that. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to remove this. Now, if you're careful with this, this is what this little part is what locks the ejection port open so you can access your hop unit, and there is a little spring under there. So the spring sits in that gap like that, and this little barrier just pushes against it, and the hole here where my thumb's pointing sits on this little peg here. So you've got I can get it in place, there we go. So you've got a fluid springy motion. Okay, so just to be aware of that, I'll put those together out of the way. We don't want to lose those. Now the next thing is, I can see there's a screw there I need to remove, but I'm going to have to lift this plate up first. So we're going to do this very carefully. Right, I have no idea what's under here. Obviously it's part of the MOSFET, but let's have a steady look. So I'm just going to, that is a plastic cover, and there's a wire coming. It is actually part of the chip itself, so you can see there that's a lot of grease or paste or something. Wow, that's crazy. I'm guessing this is part of the wiring that's coming off it. There is an extra little screw in there, so we'll just undo that, and that should now allow us to split this gearbox and see what's inside. I will say there is clearly a lot of proprietary stuff here, just to be aware of. There we go. Now, that looks like it's the magnetic sensor that's wired into the back of the side of this chip. So that, I would assume there, is the magnetic sensor. And there is the little magnet itself embedded into the actual sector gear. Obviously, that's the only part of the gear set that you're probably going to need a unique one. The trigger doesn't particularly look like a standard M4 style trigger. Let's just very carefully lift this out. So there we've got our metal air nozzle. We've got plastic tappet plate. We've got the full metal tooth piston. Let's see what the air compression is like on that. I've got pressure. You can probably hear it. There's definitely pressure. It's probably not the absolute 100% best, but it's pretty decent for what it is. It's obviously doing 350 FPS, which we're quite happy with. There is our sector gear that's got the magnet in it, so it can detect the movement. We've got the trigger is there. The trigger, I do like the style of the trigger. It's a shame it's not a generic standard M4 type trigger, but that with the tappet plate. There we've got the other side of our MOSFET system that's microswitch based. The gear set looks, fairly standard and normal. Looks solid enough. The gearbox appears to be solid as well and well machined. The selector plate has got a magnet on the back by the looks of it, and it's moving something else in. That's the safety. So there's your safety there that stops the trigger moving at all. So when it's unsafe, that's the physical block for the trigger itself. So that is an APS 118 eSilver edition BOAR, disassembled and internally had a look at. I hope that's been useful to you. Please do make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.